Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Happy midweek. Happy hump day. Happy everything. I trust, I hope, that this week has been being kind to you, that things are coming together, or if they're falling apart in artistic and creative and wonderful ways, and you know it. Hello, Heidi. Glad that you're here. Good evening. Happy Wednesday. I love Wednesday. I just love Wednesday. It's more informal than Sunday at noon, or at least that's my intention. And I just love that we kind of gather, like the clan gathers. Good evening, Dana. How's Frodo? Let me know. It's important. Hello, Kendra. Happy night to you as well. This is fun. So far, it's the girls. But I suspect Kirk will join us soon. Ha! There's Jennifer. Happy Wednesday, Brenda. Hello. This is fun. Everybody just kind of chimes in. I love it. It's like a surprise party, somewhat. You don't know exactly who's going to be here, but you know you're going to like them all. So it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. I love Wednesdays. Brenda and Jennifer and Kendra and Dana and Heidi. Oh, won't it be fun to see who else joins us? Can you all hear me all right? Oh, Dana, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know. Boy, do I know how that feels. Well, then, love to Frodo, and we will put Frodo in our prayers tonight, and know that, can I know that he's been greeted on the other side by Truffle, and that they are now happy and playing and healthy? Can I know that? Is that all right? Did Frodo like dogs? Oh, everybody liked Truffle. Not a problem. We almost adopted a dog this week named Frodo. We were looking, and he was cute. He was online, and we were real tempted, and then somebody beat us to him. I said it would be such fun to have another Frodo in the group. So I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. We send you all of our love, and we surround you with peace and prayers and happy thoughts about Frodo. We'll take care of him. And there's some very cool people on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. Some of my favorite people are on the other side. Some of my favorite furry people are on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. So, oh, you got it done good. Okay, you had it done at home. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. It is a peaceful, gentle process, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. And it's never easy, even when you absolutely know it's the right thing, as we did with Truffles. It's hard. It's hard to let them go. But when you know it's the right thing, that helps. And then it's just time. It's just time. Oh, so very sorry, sweetheart. We'll put you and Frodo in our prayers tonight, and if anybody thinks of anybody else they'd like to have in their prayers at the end of the hour, just comment on it, and we'll take care of it. We know that Frodo's better now, even if Dana doesn't feel better now. And I'll tell you, I've been thinking a lot about the Rainbow Bridge lately. And, you know, it's a beautiful picture for us to have, isn't it? And to know that they've just moved on to something better. That just like we ultimately do, there is a point at which their body no longer serves the magnitude of their fabulous, loving spirit. And so they move on. They don't always want to. Sometimes I think they'd fight to the very end just to be with us, but that's not always in their best interest. So when I go to sleep tonight, I'm sending truffle. And I know Frodo will be met with a lot of love, as you are surrounded with love here, as you are, my darling. Gosh, we get attached to the little guys, don't we? Wow. They don't speak our language. They don't do a lot of things we expect people to do. But I've cried harder over animals than I have over some people. Yeah, I get it. You are surrounded by love, Dana. Surrounded by love and peace. And I know you will miss him, because, gosh, that's what our cheers are usually about, aren't they? How much we're going to miss them. And we keep looking for them in places they're supposed to be, and then the mind clicks in and says, no, no. But many, many thoughts of love. And much sympathy for your feelings. And Frodo's fine now. Frodo's fine now. Life is good on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. That I'm sure of. Those sweet souls who expect so little of us are entitled to something great on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. So we're all surrounding you with our love, and Frodo with our knowing, and peace be with you, sweetheart. It's never easy. Never easy. But we kind of know that going in, don't we? That's one of the things that interests me about people, is we know that going in. We know that we will very likely lose them before they lose us. And still we do it. I think it says something good about us. And you know, in these days, saying something good about people is a thing to be valued. So, we hold Frodo and Dana in our hearts. Oh, so much in our hearts. And I think I'll just start, if nobody minds. I think I'll just start talking and see if maybe even the talk helps a little. There's a few of us going to meet on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. Good for us. Oh, yeah. You know, they say that there's an ancient Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times, which, according to legend, can be interpreted either as a blessing or a curse. I suspect you need to consider the source. And considering the source, I say they say there is an ancient Chinese curse because, according to my research, which is not terribly scientific but was reasonably thorough, the phrase seems to show up first in English in the 1930s when it was quoted as, "May you live in an interesting age." And again, according to my research, spoiler alert, there really doesn't appear to be a Chinese equivalent. But don't you kind of want there to be? So I'm going to let the scholars worry about whether the phrase came from the ancient Chinese or whether it is meant as a blessing or a curse. And yes, scholars are even arguing about that point. What I can't help but notice is that curse or blessing, in fact, we absolutely do right now live in an interesting age. And this has been an interesting week in the midst of some very interesting times. So it's official now. The United States has lost more than 200,000 people to COVID-19. And there are some experts who are now warning that the toll could nearly double again by the end of the year. There are out-of-control wildflowers in the western states, hurricanes, and floods in the southeast. Climate change is affecting so many living things all over the world that one can't even keep track of it anymore. Then we lost an icon and a crusader when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died last Friday. And so many of us are in mourning for a woman we never really knew. But then again, we did, didn't we? And the president is at war again with the Democrats, and the Democrats are again using the word impeachment. And the president is about to make an unprecedented nomination to the Supreme Court, one that the Republicans say they will support even though we are only weeks away from the presidential elections. And some people literally have already voted, which of course in 2016 was why they wouldn't even hold a hearing on a Supreme Court nomination with 11 months to go to the elections. I'm not taking sides tonight. Please hear that. I'm just trying to understand. Oh, and then there's rampant unemployment and a post office that seems to have stopped considering the mail to be any kind of a priority. And all that, and I'm sure more, I'm sure I have left a great deal out. Black Lives Matter. Peaceful protests. Unpeaceful responses. And all that on top of whatever personal challenges one may have. And everyone seems to be blaming everyone else for everything that's going on in the world. We seem somehow to be not only in an interesting age, but an age of rampant unaccountability and an age of fear, frustration, and aggression. Sometimes it really does seem like misery loves company, and it's busy sucking anyone who happens to be in the vicinity into it. I had a friend who had bouts of depression off and on. And when he was depressed, he wanted everyone to be depressed. And he was really good at sharing. Someone once said that when he walked into a room, the lights went out. That's pretty powerful. So some of us like to share our frustration and our misery, so we get angry, we lash out, we spend a lot of time in the blame game. Others absorb misery. They worry. They worry for themselves, they worry for the people they love, they worry for the world. They get other people's ulcers. And then there are those who seem to handle the world's crises with grace, with patience, with understanding. This week, I think, has been an interesting test case of our ability to cope. If the pandemic numbers don't get you down, the rest of the headlines certainly could. And if you were too wrapped up in your own problems to take notice of what was going on in the world, well, God bless you. I found myself this week with some extra time on my hands, or I guess more specifically, extra time on my mind. I've been rearranging my office. I think I mentioned last week we got new desks, and I love them. They're smaller, which makes the room larger, which is just fabulous. But it also created the problem in that I had drawers and a filing cabinet built into the old desk, and I don't have that anymore, and there is stuff that I don't quite know what to do with. So anyway, I've been cleaning and sorting and refiling and redesigning and redetermining, and that keeps my body busy. So it gives my mind a chance to think on things, which is usually a blessing. The end result is that I am now even more determined than ever to share these life-changing ideas that we believe with the world. And I'm starting with you. With all the seemingly mixed blessings with which we are confronted on a daily basis, it is not, I don't think, unimaginable that one should be concerned. And you can't be blamed for worrying. But do you know what you are doing to yourself when you get yourself all tied up in an emotional knot? Do you have any idea what is happening in your body when you are feeling out of sorts, or out of control, or worse yet, out of your mind? It's not good news. Now, you all know that I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm sure I'm really oversimplifying the case. But when you maintain a high level of stress, you create an imbalance in your cholesterol DHEA level, which you do not want to do. Since DHEA is an anti-aging hormone, and God knows aging is another one of those things we can get ourselves into a dither about. Not only do you deplete your DHEA level when you are stressed, you also cut down on your REM sleep. You inhibit cell repair, you lose bone density, You reduce your immune cell activity and create loss of cells, especially in the part of your brain that deals with learning and recall. When you are stressed, the messages in your brain stop at the amygdala and can't get to the higher center of your brain. So you really, literally, can't think. In so many ways, worrying about the world, instead of making things better, ultimately makes us feel even more frustrated, more powerless, more hopeless. And that leads to feeling more stressed, less powerful, helpless, and hopeless. It's a vicious circle. In order to circumvent personal meltdown, we've got to find a better way. A solution, if you will, to living in a high-impact world. And we have to find it somewhere other than Worryland. I was listening to the radio on my way to somewhere recently, and Dave Ramsey was on, and he had just spent 5 minutes listening to a caller who was talking about what a mess his life was in. And Ramsey gave him what seemed to me to be some really good advice about what he could do to make things better. But with each and every idea Dave offered, the caller came back with some reason why he couldn't do that, or why it was going to be just way too difficult. Ramsey finally, very patiently, told the caller that he was going to have to stand up and act like a man. I kind of gasped. But then I found myself thinking, he is acting like a man or a woman. He just isn't acting like a very powerful man. And his life is in crisis because of it. It might be better, I thought, if Dave or someone were to tell the young man to stand up and start acting like a divine being. I truly believe that in order to feel powerful when we are in interesting times, we've got to connect to something greater, to a higher power. I believe we have to allow spirit to become our starting place, that we must begin and end and find our middle point in God. The great golden mean, the golden middle way, is the desirable middle between two extremes, excess and deficiency. It is the place of least resistance. And where there is less resistance, there's more peace, more balance, more harmony. It allows us from that place to turn our thoughts away from the problem to the solution. Now, the young man on the radio with Dave Ramsey, given that option, would probably have said, "But I don't know the solution, so how can I turn to it?" Or, "I've tried to figure it out and there isn't a solution." Maybe so. That may be true, if all you've got to go on is what you've done with your life so far. But, and here's my real message, you aren't the end of the creative chain. And given the effects of stress on the brain, you are probably not thinking at the top of your game anyway. There is a solution, whatever the challenge or the situation may be, and the solution is to be found in that higher power, in spirit. Was it Einstein that said you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it? And if the problem has really got to you, then you're not even working with the same mind that created the problem. What we've got to know is there is a presence and a power in the universe in all situations, under all conditions. A presence and a power which is creative. And we can use it. In fact, we do use it. We use it all the time. The trick is to use it constructively instead of destructively. Case in point. If we worry or get angry or frustrated about a situation, we create stress. If we create stress, we create additional cortisol. If we create additional cortisol, we create a real mess in our bodies. We ache, we age, we abdicate. Ultimately, we give ourselves, well, something to really be concerned about. Conversely, using the same mind, if we do the best thinking of which we are capable and cannot find a solution, if we then recognize that there's a power greater than we are, and if we turn the problem over to that power, if we begin to pray affirmatively, praying to know that there is a solution, that in spirit there is a solution, in the all of creation there is a solution, then we create calm, peace, stresslessness. And we create the space in which our now calmer mind can function to find the solution that is surely there. Or we find the peace that transforms us and creates acceptance if the situation really is beyond change, but it rarely is. Here's the deal. Happiness and misery are made of the same stuff, as is the weather and anything else you can think of. Because there's only one stuff. There's only one stuff. And we can choose happiness or we can choose misery. It's a choice. I know there are times when it doesn't feel like a choice. When it feels like misery is the only option. I was journaling the other day and I found myself, well, I'd swear my hummingbird was going tisk tisk, poor you. Found myself thinking that I was sad and that misery was my only choice. And then my little hummingbird really did come in and go tisk tisk. And that always makes me feel better. And I found myself writing, I choose joy. Maybe not happiness in the moment, but joy, deep, abiding joy. And I found myself thinking happy thoughts and happy memories. And enjoying my hummingbird and his tisk-tisking. let us begin to reconjure the real power that is contained within us. Let us affirm choice. Let us affirm cool heads. Let us affirm solutions, not apocryphal situations. Let us claim peace in the face of war or animosity, personally and globally. Let us claim health instead of disease, wealth instead of lack, joy instead of unhappiness. And in these interesting times, by all means, let us claim blessing instead of curse. These are very interesting times. And never has it been more important to stay cool and calm and carry on than it is in this moment. Because this moment and what we think in it is already creating our future. Yep. The times are interesting. The weather is strange. The world situation is at best confusing. The pandemic is frightening. People are, well, some people are acting nuts. Politics is, well, more political than I can ever remember it being in my lifetime. And on top of that, your life may be a universal hotspot. But help is at hand. Or rather, it's as close as your next thought. If you cannot think of these interesting times as a blessing, then think God. Think peace. Think power of another kind. Peace and presence and power that passes understanding. You know, I was very touched and affected by reading that Emma Curtis Hopkins had told her students, people like the Fillmores of Unity and Ernest Holmes of religious science and the founders of divine science, so many of them. I was very touched by the fact that she told her students in the beginning, don't worry about understanding it. You'll get it eventually. Don't worry about understanding. Don't even try to understand it. Just practice it. That's connecting to the power that passes understanding. Don't worry about understanding. Especially in a specific situation, don't worry about understanding. I think that gets in our way. Just practice what you know. If there is too much of anything, change your mind. If there's too little of something, change your mind. Affirm what you want to live with. If it is too much where you are and you must stay, then stay your mind on God. The simplest answer is often the truest and the best. The simplest answer is to look around, to open your eyes and your mind and your heart and feel the presence of creation, the presence of spirit. How can we look at this world of ours and not see it? And know that whatever may be going on, however interesting your times may be, there is never a time that you are not with God, in God. Never a time when all things are not possible. When we realize that, we have to know that whatever is going on, we are blessed. You are blessed. You are beyond blessed. Today, tomorrow, and forever. And so it is. See, so it really is. I think we say it sometimes, and we say, and so it is, and we think, yeah, okay. No, so it really is. You are in God, with creation, surrounded by, immersed in creation. So it really is. What a powerful thing to know. I'm reading your comments. Kurt's got the spiritual equivalent of Prozac. I love that. Yeah. Bring it down. The truth brings it down. It calms the mind, it calms the body, it heals the body. The truth of the presence of spirit right there where you are, right now. Sets you free. It's a big thought. You're all up to it. I know you are. Yes, Heidi, your empowerment lies in the choice that you make. You just said in one sentence what it just took me a half an hour to say. First of all, I think in the beginning it's about learning that you even have choices. So many people don't think they do. So it's learning that you have them and then making those choices wisely in a way that heals and reveals the presence of perfection right there where you are. Right there. I wish I could see you. You know, there are times when I kind of think we ought to switch to Zoom just so I could see you, but Zoom does strange things. And I kind of like this format, except that I'd love to see your faces. I'd love to really chat. Jennifer, yes, that's true. We may not have control over circumstances, but we have control over how we respond. That's back to choices, isn't it? See, if someone blows up at me, which of course nobody ever does, but should someone do that, I have a choice. How do I respond? Don't you? I hope you have all watched RBG. Um, there are two of them out there. Either one's good. But they quote her several times as saying, "You don't respond with anger. No matter what's going on, you don't respond with anger." Her mother taught her that, and she's kept with it all of her life. And she they asked her specifically in a couple of different situations, well, how do you respond to this? How do you And she said, not with anger. Because you lose if you do that. You abdicate your responsibility to respond like the divinity that you are. Now, I'll give you that the Old Testament God responded with anger. So if you kind of like that guy, and you're going to use his as an example, that could be a challenge. He did a lot of anger, smiting and smoting and turning people to salt and such. But that's the Old Testament, and then Jesus came along and said, oops, love one another. And that's a real good place to start. Love people. Just collectively and individually. You're right, Kendra. The good is always there. There's always, 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 always a blessing. Always. Always. Oh dear, what are you guys getting us into? I feel there's a plot happening here. Oh, but I love it. If you're plotting, it's going to be good. So, what are we going to do with the world? What are we going to do? To make the world right. I know the whole world is kind of an awesome task to take on, so I'm not going to ask you necessarily to do that tonight, although I would like you to think about it. We start where we are, with what we've got, and who we are. I read the sweetest thing the other day, and I'm not sure exactly where, although it may have been a Daily Word. But it was about smiling. It was about smiling. And how a smile changes things. Now there's a good place to start, isn't it? What if you just determined to smile at everybody tomorrow? Doesn't have to be a great big smile. Maybe it's just a little smile. Just turn up the corners of your mouth a little bit. What if? I don't know about you, but when I'm walking down the street and I look up and get eye contact with somebody and they smile, it makes me feel better. My hummingbird makes me smile. There are several of them, but one in particular, because he's a real character, makes me smile. And I feel better when I smile. So what if tomorrow's Change the World project was just a smile at everyone you meet? And if you're not going out of the house, what if you called a smile into someone? Hi, just thinking about you and it made me smile. So I'm sending the smile on to you. Thanks for being in my life. That's all. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. See, we think if we're going to change the world, we have to do these great big massive things. What if you started with something small? Because here's what I believe, is that if you started with that, it would lead to something else. I don't know what. It will be different for everybody. But if you start with a smile, and you make even one person's life better for that day, even if that one person is only you, what do you think? It's a start. And you might just feel good enough about that it gives you the impetus, the inspiration to do something else, whatever that might be. Write a book, write a poem, make a phone call, write a play, dance in the streets. I don't know. It'll be different for everyone. Okay, so you guys are going on with Zoom here. That's right. Jesus absolutely never did say you had to like what they do. In fact, I think he said something very different. Yeah, treat everybody with kindness. And I think, Heidi, you're right. You have to support yourself first, which is why one of the reasons I like the smile idea, because I know it makes me feel better. It's small. It's not earth-shaking, and maybe some of us want to do earth-shaking things. I'm kind of working my way up to that, but I'm not quite there yet. But I can smile. And what if I smiled at two people who then went and smiled at two people who went and smiled at two more people? And how long would it take to go around the world? I don't know, but it certainly wouldn't do any harm. Just saying. Just saying. It doesn't have to be huge. I think sometimes we think it has to be huge, and so we don't do anything because we think we can't do anything huge. Start with something small and loving and kind. A smile is that. You're right, Kendra. If you just smile before you pick up the phone, they'll hear it. They'll hear it. It's a different voice. You can't smile and go, huh. Just doesn't work. So your homework for tomorrow is to smile. Hopefully at other people in some way. Even if your heart is heavy, because it will make you feel better too. It will. Let's pray. And we especially want to include in our prayers tonight Dana and Frodo, who I feel in my heart is being met even now on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge by those who have gone before and who are ready to play with him. And we hold Dana in our hearts and surround her with our love. And understand her tears. And so we send virtual hugs. And even more importantly, the intention to love and to support. Because we do. And I know for each of us tonight, there's a power and a love and a kindness and a creativity and a joy that is beyond human understanding. It wells up from deep within us, and it surrounds us always. And it is spirit in its finest form. And it is unlimited and unbounded, and all things are possible in and through and with it. And we are in and through and with it. And so all things are possible as well to each of us. We are not lost. We are not victims. We are strong and powerful and dedicated gardeners of this Garden of Eden in which we live. And I know for each of us tonight that our hearts are full of love. Our minds are full of ideas and solutions. Our mouths are full of words that are gentle and kind and loving and productive. Our bodies are full of energy, vitality, strength. And we are well equipped for the work that calls us to be done. We are ready and willing. And God in and through each of us is very, very able. And so I know tonight that nothing is impossible. That what we are called to do becomes clearer and clearer to each of us in every minute, every day, with every idea. We are alert and aware of doors that open, and we walk through. We are aware and alert to opportunities that we may not have seen otherwise, and we accept them. And we look upon challenges as simply lessons to be learned so that we can move on and up and through these interesting times to something better than we and the world have ever known. And so I celebrate this night. I celebrate this night because of those it has brought together, because of the ideas that it has engendered, because of the solutions that are even now forming. And I celebrate this night because on this night we all absolutely know, accept, and recognize that we are beyond blessed. And yes, we live in interesting times. But that makes our blessings even more obvious, even more important, even more cherished. And so we look forward to what the future brings. For we know that it brings solutions and healing and peace and love and kindness and wholeness. And we accept all of that for ourselves and for all our brothers and sisters around the world. We are grateful for the great minds and the great activities, the great thoughts that have come before. We are grateful for the shoulders on which we may stand as we move forward. And we are grateful that these interesting times ultimately are a blessing. And we let that be so. And so it is. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and ideas. Thank you for supporting me in this work. Thank you for being the magnificent beings that you are. I know that each of you makes a difference in this world, and I am honored to be in your company. Again, Dana, we surround you, sweetheart, with our love. And we know that Frodo is met by love on the other side of that fabulous rainbow bridge. It's been a good night. I thank you for being here. I hope you will join me again Sunday at noon. Tell your friends. Let's make this community even bigger, shall we? Shall we? Let's get the word out. I love you all. I would bless you all, but you're already so blessed. Oh, well, what's a little more blessing? It couldn't hurt. I cherish you. I thank you for being here. I wish you the most amazing and wonderful week. I wish that each of you moves a step closer to creating paradise on earth. See you Sunday.